everyone, happy Tuesday. Welcome to part 2 of this planner page from Worlds of Wonder. We have this sort of floating island with the flying fish and all the other details. I think it's going to be easier to just sort of work through methodically through each of the little details. I did think it might take a while, but actually I don't think it really will. So anyway, we'll just see how it goes. So we're using the Castle Art Soft Touch pencils as we were yesterday. So I'm going to grab one to do all these little grasses. There's quite a few grasses throughout the picture. Let's come in a tad closer so you can see. There we go. And find a sort of grass type colour. I'm thinking maybe the sap green might work. I'm just going to see if I can find it. Here it is. Sap green. I'm going to need to sharpen it as always. Oh, that's not the right sharpener. Oops. I like my Staedtler Norris club sharpener for these. Okay, so where should we start? I think I'll start over here. We've got these sort of strands of grass. I'm just going to layer up the colour until it's dark enough for my liking. And then this sort of bit here as well. So I hope everyone's well today. It's actually quite late for me recording. It's I've had just eaten my evening meal, but I have had other things to do today, so I haven't had time to do any recording, and I just thought I would hop in and do a bit, because although normally in the evening I'm a little bit tired, I sort of run out of things to say and that sort of thing, I don't want to get too behind. I'm already a little bit behind, so I just wanted to make sure that I didn't sort of get myself thinking, oh, I'm behind, you know, and I've got a fair bit to do here and there, so it's just making sure I'm keeping up really, but that's fine. So today, yeah, I got up quite early actually and had to do a little bit of uploading onto YouTube and various bits and pieces like that. And then I went out. I had to go and buy, it was very exciting, I had to go and buy some omega-3 tablets. So I had to go into town to do that because the local supermarket where I normally buy them had sold out. So I had to go and do a little trek into town. And I wasn't too long, I had to get some milk as well. It was all jolly exciting. I'm just checking for other blades of grass, but I can't see any, so I'm going to leave that there. And now I'm going to work sort of around, I think. So I'm going to come down a bit here. Oh, let's keep this in short. So we've got these large leaves here. I'm just going to grab the Prussian green. I think because we've got a lot of green things, I might just end up using, excuse me, all the greens. So here we go. So with these leaves, I think I'm just going to fade them to the tip. It's a really easy way to make them look a little bit more interesting without much effort. As I say, it's late in the day for me doing this sort of thing, so effort isn't going to be I don't know what word I'm trying to say. I'm not going to put in much effort. Yeah, after lunch, my husband's off work today. He decided that that would be nice to go and have a little walk. So we went out to our local sort of wetlands area and had a walk there. It was quite a long drive actually. There was some roadworks along the way, and so it took a little bit longer. And then by the time we got back, had a drink. We were going to have a drink there, but the cafe was so busy because lunchtime was over and they were sort of cleaning up half of it. So they closed half of it off and they were mopping and cleaning. So there were no free tables, and we just decided that we would just not bother. We would go home and have some drink there. So that's what we did, came home for coffee. Now I'm going to do these here. Now these are on top of our cadmium green pail. So I'm tempted to do them in a cadmium green colour, but it might not show up that well. So maybe I'll be better off doing, I'm just looking, oxide of chrome might be a little bit better. It's a similar colour family as I think. Gosh, it doesn't want to show up, does it? It's a sort of browny green, which I think works together with these sort of olives, I suppose. So I think it'll be, yeah, it looks good, I think. So yeah, we had nice walks, saw lots of wetland birds. Nothing too extraordinary today. Lots of white swans. I saw a black swan. I don't know where that had come from. I saw lots of ducks, coots, moorhens. They have flamingos there as well, which obviously aren't native to the UK, but they have all sorts of wetlands creatures. They're sort of, the idea is to raise awareness of the importance of wetlands. They're really good carbon soaks. It's quite an odd word, isn't it? But I'm sure you know what it means. So it's a really good idea to preserve them. Now, we have these 3 trees here, and they all look like palm trees to me. So I'm actually going to colour the trunks the same for each of them. I'm going to use quite a dark brown. I think the Van Dyke brown would work quite well. There we go, Van Dyke brown. Again, needs a sharpen. But yes, and it was just nice to have a little walk. The boys didn't want to come, so it's just me and husband. We had a good natter in the car and on the walk. This is really wobbly. Oh, I can't snap it, it's not that wobbly. I'm just gonna have to make do. Yeah, so that was good. And so I didn't get filming done earlier in the day, so I thought I'd nip in and do it now. I was sort of remembering when I first started, I used to do a whole week's worth of videos in a day. I only used to really do them at the weekends, I think. And it would take me ages. I would set up actually no, I used to do them at my desk. That's right, it was when it was locked down, I couldn't do them at my desk because everyone was working in the same room. So then I had to start recording in the kitchen at times, and I had to carry all my stuff down to the kitchen, tripod, camera, notebook, pencils, relevant book, all that sort of thing. Yeah, gosh, that was a long time ago. Feels a long time ago anyway, which is probably a good thing, really. It was an interesting time. Yeah, let's just leave it there, shall we? Now, palm trees. I always think they're quite bluey green, maybe. I don't know, that's how I imagine them. So I'm going to use the viridian for these. It's so hard to see. And again, for these, I think I want all my intensity of colour to be in the centre of the tree, so in this area, and then less towards the tip of each leaf. So it sort of fades down. Excuse me, we just had a lovely tea. It's Friday, so we're sort of using up. So I had 3 carrots, 1 pak choy or bok choy, I'm not sure whether there's any big difference between them really. I had 4 mushrooms, largish mushrooms, and what else did I have? Peppers. So I did a stir fry. I only used 1 of the peppers, and threw in a bit of frozen peas and corn with it as well. And we did some refried beans on the side. It was quite an odd meal, but we like everything in it, so we don't really see why it matters if it's a little bit odd. So me and the boys had that between us, and my son made refried beans. Now I find it quite hard to find pinto beans. In fact, I was in a health food shop this morning, I should have had a look. But I don't know if they do groceries in that particular shop. Anyway, so we used tinned black beans, which we love anyway, and smushed them up with some lime and cumin. It was very nice. I added a bit of salt to mine, but the boys stirred cheese into there, so they said don't put salt in because it makes it too salty with the cheese. I was like, okay. So that was a very nice meal. We had pita bread on the side. So yeah, bit weird, bit bitty, but healthy, I think, pretty much, and pretty balanced and tasty. So it was all good, and it's nice using up those. You didn't use up all the peppers. I had a bag of 3, so we only used 1. So I've got a few left, but we get through. We use peppers every day, usually. When I do roasted veg, when I do stir fries, I put them in lunch boxes. We have them raw, we have them cooked. We just love them. I remember when I was young, we didn't really have peppers very much. It's just interesting how our food has changed. Like when I was little, we would have, I guess we didn't import as many veg, so we would have like carrots and turnips and Sweden leeks and cabbages and onions, things like that. I'm going to do these coconuts because I'm going to forget if I don't, and I think I might do them a slightly lighter brown than the tree, so I think I'm going to use the raw umber. Yeah, and then I remember, you know, there was a time when I'd never had an avocado. Raw umber. And it's like when I first met my husband, when we were dating, he took me for a curry. I'd never had a curry in a restaurant before. You know, I'd eaten curry sauce on my fish and chips and things like that. It just wasn't something that we did. I'm just going to use this to go over this tree a bit because the trunk isn't very neat. Yeah, we didn't. Yeah, we had a curry place near us, but we just never went to it. It was always seen as a little bit exotic, you know. It sounds really silly, but that's the way it was back then. I'm going to use a darker brown for these 2 tree trunks here. So this is the burnt umber. Couldn't read it myself then. I love this little giraffe. He's eating this tree. So cute. But yeah, as I say, you know, we didn't have an avocado. We used to have bananas quite a lot growing up, and apples. We didn't oranges, but not. We used to only be able to get satsumas at Christmas. Now you can just get them all the time. But there are certain vegetables, it's so interesting that we still only get very seasonally in this country, but mostly we don't. Brussels sprouts is one. We only ever have those during the winter months. I'm trying to think of a colour for these trees. I'm thinking, I don't want, what's that colour? Permanent green. Yeah, I'm going to use the cadmium green. It's my favourite and I just spotted it. There we go. Yeah, asparagus still has a very limited season, although the supermarket I shop at does get it in from abroad quite a lot. But if you want British asparagus, it's quite limited. I think with greenhouses and things like that and foreign imports, we can get such a much bigger variety of foods. You know, I don't really remember having peppers as a child. We would have them in, I'm trying to think, if you bought a packet of rice to cook that was sort of dehydrated with things added already, it might have peas and peppers in it, and the peppers would be really nasty. Probably put me off. I think boiled peppers is what it would have been. Ugh, not nice. Roasted, fried, delicious. Boiled, no thanks. And they had a weird sort of taste to them. So we would have had them a little bit. We always had potatoes with our main meal. It was like the staple thing, you know. And I remember always wanting to have pasta. My mum doesn't like it. She still isn't a big fan. I'm making it a little bit darker around here. So we didn't really have it. Occasionally we had spaghetti. She didn't mind that, as long as it wasn't cooked too much. So it would be sort of al dente, hooker's green, which is, of course, as my son would say, that's how you're supposed to eat it. I know that, but I like it soft and anyway. think I'm going to do this bush the same colour. But yeah, I just find it quite fascinating that, you know, I think our palette has expanded. I mean, British people, I think English really, I'm not going to say Welsh, Irish and Scottish, but British people are known for having very bland food. And I admit I do. And that's how I cook, that's how I was brought up, you know. Now we've got these little bits here. Going to grab the juniper green, I think. I'm going to be busy putting all these greens away after this video. I shall cope. Now again with these bigger leaves, I'm going to try and make them darker on the base, but also where they're, excuse me, overlapping, sorry, it's because I've just eaten, and then fade it out to that edge, like that. There we go. But yes, not very adventurous. I think tomato ketchup is probably one of our more adventurous seasonings. No, I'm being unfair. Some people really are more adventurous than others. Now, what are these? I'm going to continue with this green and put it there. And then the top bits, are they buds? Are they flowers? Are they leaves? Anyone's guess? I am going to use this colour and just grab this chrome green. I'm going to do them that colour. But yes, it is fascinating. You know, I think growing up we would have we would often have fish and chips. That was the thing. That was the takeaway everyone had, fish and chips. And we would sometimes go and get a bag of chips of an evening after tea, and either have a walk and eat them while we were walking, or you're going to go up here, down here, sorry, and do some of these greeneries down, that's the word, greeneries down here. So I'm going to use the leaf green for these large leaves here. But you wouldn't get like a Chinese or a pizza or a curry. I don't know whether those restaurants didn't exist, whether they didn't do takeaway food and back then, or whether it just wasn't a trend, or whether it just wasn't something that my family did. You know, I don't know. I really have no idea. Okay, we're looking for a colour for these, and I always like to do these in a sort of yellowy colour, yellowy or browny green. But I think I've used most of those already. I could, that's a funny noise. I think I'm going to use the cadmium green pale. I used it up here, didn't I? I'm going to use it again. I'm going to try and make sure it's intense enough, because I think there it looks a little bit wishy-washy. So I'm going to go over and over a little bit, like that. There we go. And just get those leaves showing up. I think they look lovely. But that's just because I like this green. Now this leaf here, it's a bit odd. It's just sitting there. What colour do you want to be, little leaf? Here I am, colouring and talking to leaves and myself. I do know I will get people listening now. Thank goodness. Anyway, yes, I had a nice day actually. It was good. My husband took a lot of photos actually while we were out. He needs to take those off his camera and have a look at them, but I think what was he doing this evening? He had to sort out the new router. I'm just looking for a colour for this twig and branch, whatever it is. Tree, it's an apple tree. Don't want to go too dark. What's the Actually, I'm going to grab that raw umber that I used for something. Oh, I used it for the coconuts. I'm going to use that. Yeah, he's we had our new broadband fitted, and the router is now by the front door, and we've got cables going through the house to link up to my son's computer up in his attic bedroom. He had a cable anyway, and we could just sort that out. That was sorted and things like that. But the Wi-Fi is a bit weak upstairs now, apparently. I haven't noticed, to be honest. I was using it. I've been using it a little bit, but I haven't noticed. But it means that if they want to use the boys want to use their phones upstairs in bed or whatever, permanent green for all these little leaves, it's a bit weak. So so husband is just, we've got an old router that we were using before, and he said he couldn't really get it working properly with the new setup, and he didn't really need it, so he took it out. So he's going to work out how to get it working so that the boys can take advantage of this stronger internet. And what it means is that my other son, sometimes he wants to go and chat to someone, you know, sort of video chat, and he doesn't like doing that. I'm going to do this leaf in front of everyone. I don't blame him. I'm not a fan really of doing that myself. I mean, it's like I'm recording this video in a room with the door shut because I don't want everyone hearing me talking to myself. Anyway, so he might be able to do that as well, so it might be advantageous to them both. Now, I think the apples shouldn't be green, and as we're running through all the greens, we've only got a little bit of green left down here, so I think we should just finish the green first and then think about the apples. Excuse me. Now, this is such a teeny weeny thing. I'm going to use the phthalo green light. I'm going to sharpen it. Now, I noticed we've got a little bit of grass here, which I missed. So I shall have a look at that in a minute. I just noticed how southern I sound when I say grass. If you come from up north in England, you say grass. But I've never said it like that. It's just not, it doesn't feel right. It was so funny this morning. When I was walking into town, I was walking along the canal path, and I saw this gentleman, chap. I see him often walking along there, and so we said hello to each other because obviously we sort of know each other, so we sort of say a little hello. The grass, what colour did I use? Oh, it's right at the beginning. Was it the sap? The sap green? That's what I'm going to use anyway. Well, quite far away, no one will notice it was wrong. I need to sharpen it though, look how fine those are. And he said hello to me, and I kept thinking, and I couldn't work out what his accent was. You know, it's a British accent, but I couldn't work out what region he was from. And I had a light bulb moment. I realised that his accent sounded like somebody else that I speak to, who was born and bred in the town where I live. I was like, my goodness, that's a local accent for here. So many people who live here, this is green gold, well, on to Mr. Giraffe, aren't local. Like, I wasn't born here, my husband wasn't born, my boys weren't even born here, although they were raised here. You know, so and my neighbours, I know that one of my neighbours was from further north, not exactly sure where. I need a darker brown for the spots. I'm going to use the cinnamon, and oh, there we go. One of my neighbours is from this area, was schooled here, but his partner wasn't. You know, people are from all over the place. I think it's really good. I think it's really nice for people to just be, don't know what to do with that. We're going down here. Let's just pretend that doesn't exist. Right, window frames. Now, honestly, I'm just going to forget about it for a minute. I'm going to use the walnut brown for our window frames to make them look like they're wooden. Oh, that one's all wibbly. Look at that. Let's use the dowel to sharpen that one. Gosh, that took a long time. Sorry, I should have paused the video. But here we are. It's quite sharp, isn't it, the dowel? It makes them quite sharp. I'll have to go gently or else it'll snap. I think it's nice because people have different experiences growing up from different places. Even within the UK, people have different experiences, and you know, I think that's great. It means you've got different stories to tell, different words, accents, regional sayings. I just think it's great, you know. And I love, I've got really into, since doing YouTube actually, really interested in different countries and the way they say words and pronounce words and use words. English speaking countries, I mean, for example, America. Now in the UK we're a lot more familiar with the way Americans say things because of television compared with maybe Canadians, for example, or Australians, although we get a fair bit of Australian telly because we get Neighbours Home and Away. I don't know if Neighbours is still on now. It's stopped and started and stopped and started, but and so we get a bit of that from there. I'm going to make the actual door a different colour to this frame, I think. And we get a lot of American TV. We used to get soap operas like Dallas and Dynasty, all those old things. And then as I got older, I'm going to go to my friend, the Raw Umber again. We sort of got comedies, Cheers and Roseanne, I seem to remember watching. And now of course we get things like Friends, and now we get like Big Bang Theory, which is finished as well, hasn't it? And Seinfeld, and just loads of things really. And because I only have terrestrial TV, which is only a few channels, we don't pay extra for extra channels. If you get the cable or satellite television, you get way more programs, so you probably get way more Brilliant Yellow, American, or even other foreign programs. There was a bit of a trend, I don't know if it's still happening because I don't get the channels, for Scandinavian whodunit, murder mystery type programs, I think, and they had subtitles and they got really popular. I don't know what channel they were on, or whether it's Netflix or Amazon Prime or one of those, which again a lot of people have, I don't have. I'm going to put some light in the lamps because I think this is a good colour. I'm not doing the flames though. I don't know if you can see this one, but I'm just filling in like the background bit like that. Anything else? We've got some windows. Let's put some windows in our building. There we go. Oh, and above the door, I'm thinking like that. Okay, let's go back down here. Let's get these apples done next. So I think red is going to work well because they will stand out. I'm just looking at my different reds. I do have a, yeah, I'm thinking the red ochre because it's slightly orangey, just slightly, and I think that might look better for apples somehow. Although you can get more pinky apples. Oh yeah, red ochre. There's a pink lady, isn't there? But I'm thinking more of a Cox's, very British apple. Don't like them at all. They are very mealy, sort of dry and almost crumbly. They're very weird, and so not particularly juicy, and they're sour. Not my favourite, although russets are worse. Ooh. I like Bramleys, but I always cook them. They're a cooking apple. They go lovely and soft. Wow, sounds like some sort of motor race going on up on the main road there. Don't know what's going on. Wow. this here, little duck. I think I'm going to do him in brown. I'm going to start with my raw umber friend again, but we're going to add in a few other colours. I think he does look quite cute in white, but I don't want it to look like I've just forgotten. I have a sort of weird obsession with making sure I don't forget. Walnut brown, I think it is because I do forget sometimes. So that bit tail, bit darker, and I'm going to put a little bit of darker colour on the front of there. I think I need to do the beak in a brilliant yellow, so I need to sharpen it a bit more. Here we go, brilliant yellow. I find it quite fascinating lately. It seems like people are, I'm just grabbing my sap green because I've just noticed a bit of grass up here that I missed. Oh, that's when it's changed the ringtone on the phone and it's ringing. It's really funny. It just sounds very odd. Anyway, lamps. I'm going to use a grey and make them look a little bit silvery. What should we use? I'm thinking, yes, the cool grey. That'll be, no, the Paynes grey. I'll just argue with myself. Hang on a minute. Paynes grey. What I'm going to do with these is put a bit more intensity on the edges and less to the middle, so I can leave a little line to look like it's shining. And I coloured that string just in the grey, because these two down here, they have a sort of thing. This one has a thing it's hanging from. I'm just going to do that in the same colour. And there. And then that little tiny dot. There we go. Now the flames I'm going to do in a sort of intense orange. Oh, I just smacked the tripod while looking through my pencil case. I am, yeah, cadmium, no, orange lake. Orange lake is a nice deep colour. It will show up well for a tiny spot. If you find these little teeny weeny dots really hard, do use a pen. You could use a fine liner to put that in. Now the actual candle itself, what colour? I am actually going to ponder that while I use my Paynes grey to colour this little bottle. What I'm going to do is try to make it dark on the edges and lighter in the middle, but I've sort of put it down a bit too hard really. Now it just looks like a silver thing, but that's okay. Now we have these mushrooms. I'm going to do the stems with this lightly. I'm saying lightly to myself, by the way, to remind myself not to push down too hard, because I don't want them to look really dark. There we go. Now I quite like tops of mushrooms being red, but I'm going to go for a slightly different colour. I'm going to use the burnt ochre, just so it's not red, and I'm hoping it will sort of contrast with the apples. So again, I'm going to sort of try and fade it towards the middle. Quite tricky when they're so small. If you can't do that, I'm going to make that underneath a bit orange as well. Normally I do that in a dark brown, but it's just such a little area, it's just easier. There we go. Now we've got fish and building, so we'll do fish first because I'm still pondering what to do with the building. Now we've got a sort of stripy pattern on our fish. I'm thinking I'd quite like to introduce some more blue. We've got a lot of earth tones, but we've got this blue here. So I'm thinking if we have blue fish, then we've got a bit more blue. So I'm actually going to use the teal green light that we used for the water. And I'm going to do the head of the fish. So you want a darker bit on the edges and then fade a bit towards the middle so it's a bit lighter in the centre, and then doing a similar thing with the rest of it like that, and then just keep going the same with each fish. simply, yeah, I was trying to make some complex arrangements earlier because husband's got an appointment on a day when I've got an appointment. He wants me to come with him to his appointment, and the children need to come to him and the children were going to come with me to my appointment. It's a family get together, and I was going to go early on the train to get to my parents early to help with prepping food for the family get together. And now his appointment is at the time that I was hoping to arrive at my parents' house. So, and he wants me to come with him. The children need to be at, oh, it's just complicated. They don't want to come to his appointment. Well, one of them does and one of them doesn't. And one of them said he's going to go on the train to his grandparents' house because he doesn't want to come to the other appointment. The other one's like, I can't be bothered to do that. It'll be easier just to cobalt, turquoise, green. So it's like, oh my, it's all so complicated to try and organise, and I feel like I'm letting them down by not helping, but they'll quite understand that I need to be at the other thing as long as I get there eventually, which I will. But yeah, the appointment's at 10. I don't know what time the guests are arriving. We're yet to find that out. And his appointment's probably going to take an hour. And then we've got to get to my parents from there, which could potentially take another hour. So, my goodness, it's all rather tricky. So yeah, that was a letter waiting for us with that appointment actually when we returned from our afternoon out. I also had a weird letter. Well, it wasn't weird. It was saying, can you confirm that these people live at your address, ready for making sure the voting voters roll, is that what it's called? Electoral register, that's what it's called, is in order. So I filled that in, and then it said, oh, you have to renew your postal vote now every 3 years. I was like, goodness me, didn't ever used to have to do that. Dum dum dum, the building of doom. No, I think we're I'm really tempted to just do it like a beige, but I don't know, is that going to be really boring? I'm going to grab the Paynes grey and I'm going to do the roof in grey. That's where I'm going to start. I think last time I did it, I did a gold dome, but there we go. The underneath bit, would that be the same colour? I'm going to do the fence, I think, in this. I'm thinking maybe, do I go for a light blue? No, let's go for a darker blue. So we use the cobalt turquoise green and the teal green light. Do we have a bluey green that's quite dark? Oh, yes, we do. The cypress green, I'm going to use that. It's quite dark, and I think it'll help this to stand out because I think it's quite an important part of the picture. So, it's a very loud aeroplane going over. I'm just going to block this in. I made that a little bit lighter in the middle. And maybe I should with this tarry bit really. Now background, I'm not going to do anything, but if I was going to do a background, I would use some soft pastels, and I would probably do some blue splodges to make it look like we're in the sky and there's some cloud and blue sky, but I don't really know where we are. Are we floating in the sky? I do not know. No idea. So we'll have to see. Now we've got a door. I want to go for a really dark colour. I think like an indigo. Yes, we've got an indigo here. Indigo light. That's what I'm going to use for the door. You want to be able to see the door. I wonder how you get to the door. Do you shimmy up here? I hope there's some steps round the back. Okay, I think that we are most likely done. There we go, we are. Didn't take as long as I thought. A bit longer than yesterday's video, but not too long. So there we go. Thank you. Oh, candle. How about a cobalt turquoise green? There we go. There we go. So now we are definitely done, she says, wondering if you are. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that you have a really super rest of your day and happy colouring.